Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of having founder and CEO of Sheets and Giggles, Colin McIntosh, here with me, and he's going to educate us on his product line, where the industry is going, and what it's like to be an entrepreneur out of Denver. And we will find out everything he's doing and start buying products. So, Colin, good to meet you.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate it. And for anybody listening, no need to buy a product if you don't want to. It's I appreciate it, though, Pete.
You got it. Okay, so this is not an infomercial. This will keep this on the podcast. There we go. So, Colin, just so our listeners have some background here, you want to talk about some of your past experiences and what led you to break off and become an entrepreneur, and where you see the industry heading?
Yeah, what led me to be a Bedsheets mogul is what I usually get asked. I've got a kind of a weird background. I went to Emory University in Atlanta.
I did too, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, back in '94, I graduated.
Oh, wow. No way. I'm just a few years behind you in 2012.
Just a few.
Yeah, just
That's
a few.
Very,
yeah.
Very kind of you, Colin.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but I got my BBA there from Goizueta, and from business school there, and I ended up doing what a lot of kids do for the first job out of Emory, which is I went to go work at a hedge fund, and I worked at the world's largest hedge fund, a company called Bridgewater Associates in Connecticut. And I think I got fired in 5 months or 6 months. I can't remember if I lasted 6 months, but that was pretty difficult. Though I ended up being one of the better things that happened to me. I ended up becoming a recruiter, ironically, for the recruiting firm that hired me there.
Okay.
Ended up recruiting for some of the world's biggest banks, hedge funds, some startups. And that's where I got into startups and technology. And then I ended up hiring myself at one of my startups for an open business development role in Seattle. And then a couple of years after that, I got an opportunity at Techstars with a company that I founded with a few of my friends. That was a wearable technology company back in 2015. And then in 2017, we all got laid off at 1 p.m. on a Monday, because that's what happens. And 3 weeks later, I ended up starting my own company, which is Sheets and Giggles. And so far, so good, 2.5 years later.
That's great. So when you talk about, and we did some research here on how you started this, so you used some crowdfunding platform to kick this off, or is that secondary to when you're already?
Very, very much so. No. So my last company was venture capital funded, and it was. I wasn't the CEO. I wasn't the core founder. I was just head of biz dev, and we had raised $6 million. We had 30 people working in downtown Denver. We were nationwide retail, growth at all costs type of company. And, it ends up being boom or bust with all those, with most of those VC-backed companies. And, unfortunately for us, it was just bust. And that was really difficult. And so for my company specifically, I knew I wanted to do a crowdfunding campaign because I was starting a company based off of a pun, right? So I knew that I needed to get some traction and some market validity. Otherwise, no one was going to take me seriously. And then I also knew that I wanted to be mostly revenue funded, mostly beholden to consumers and to a community versus beholden to a group of investors. So we ended up doing we started the company in October 2017, didn't start working on it until about January 2018. And then the crowdfund was May 2018, and we raised $284,000 in crowdfunding. And to this day, that's the proudest accomplishment of my life, was convincing thousands of people to wait months for Bedsheets. So I was pretty excited about that.
And then what led you to hone in on this product category? Were you watching the My Pillow guy late at night on the on cable and said, I don't have a mustache and I got better satin pajamas in this guy? Or what led you to this?
I've never met the My Pillow guy. I'd love to ask him how he gets that mustache just so. But I've got a beard. He could probably give me some tips. But so basically, I think that the core reason was the business model was so compelling. And so I think that your listeners might appreciate this. Basically, I see a lot of founders do a very simple method of beginning a company. They say, I see a problem, I have an idea for a solution, And then I'm going to spend years of my life and hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars building this solution. And they don't do a very crucial step in the middle of that, which is test to see if the market is going to validate this solution to this problem. And a lot of times they never even build a business model around for the solution. They just build the solution and then hope the business model comes together in the future. And so what I did was sort of the opposite of that. I built a business model that I was extremely passionate about and that I thought was profitable, scalable, and sustainable. And then I designed a product to back into that business model. And specifically, I wrote on a piece of paper, I said, I want a massive commodities market that is highly fragmented, so no market leader that I have to chip away at, that is largely traditionally physical retail, so I can bring it online with a direct-to-consumer model, and that also has zero brand differentiation or zero brand loyalty, so I could zig where everybody else was zagging and snag customers without worrying about switching costs. And so I also wanted a low complexity supply chain. So no Bluetooth, no firmware, no software, no tooling. And then it all kind of came together to where I started. And this is the honest God's truth. I looked at all the domains that I owned because I was very inspired. I have a mentor who is the co-founder of alarm.com, who's a big home security company, $3 billion market cap. Yeah, sure. And I asked her one day why she started alarm.com. And she said, well, we looked at all the one word domains that we owned and we owned alarm.com and thought that might be a really interesting company to start. And so, I love that kind of thought process. And so I owned sheetsgiggles.com. There's a lot of power in a really good brand name. I looked at the bedding market to see if it fit my criteria for my perfect business model. And it was almost just a smack dab perfect fit. $12 billion US market, growing 10% year over year, no brand differentiation, no loyalty, highly fragmented, mostly physical retail. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting was there was no product differentiation. Everybody sells cotton, everybody sells polyester, some people sell bamboo, but there's really no product differentiation. And so I was able to do some materials research and sourcing, and I found out about a material called eucalyptus lyocell, which is what we make our sheets out of. And along with the base wood is eucalyptus trees. It's very similar to bamboo fabric, except more sustainable. And so it's softer than cotton. It's more breathable. It's cooling, moisture wicking, hypoallergenic. And then on top of that, it's also incredibly sustainable. It uses about 96% less water to make than cotton and no insecticides or no pesticides. And so I was kind of off to the races after that when I realized I had all the pieces and I just had to put them together.
Gotcha. So what were some of the first hires you made on your team once you got going?
So I didn't hire anybody full-time for 15 months and I didn't pay myself for 15 months. So I was working for free, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, basically for 15 months. And then January or February 2018. So 1 year ago, I gave myself my first paycheck. So that was really quite 2019. So that was pretty momentous. In terms of first hires, part-time contractors, I hired a product development team. So folks that could build me the tech packs that I needed to bring my ideas to life. I hired a contract manufacturer, someone that I needed to give a fairly large and significant purchase order to in order for them to give me the time of day. And I also hired a marketing agency that specialized in crowdfunding. So that way we could get the business off the ground, chosen channel. And then I hired an intern who did all of our graphic design and social media. And I wrote all of our content, designed all of our packaging, did all of our supply chain management. And it was a pretty lean operation at first.
Mm-hmm. And where are you at now?
Now we're about to hit 10 people full time, and we're based in downtown Denver. Though we do have full-time remote folks in Los Angeles and South Florida. Now we've got a lean full-time team, and then we've got a really nice cabal of part-timers and contractors circling us. Legal team, part-time fractional CFO accounting team, really awesome 3PL warehouse team, and we have a really great. I think it's kind of like a circle, like a net of people circling us. that allows us to, keep growing with less than 10 full-timers.
That's great. And are you doing anything different on the marketing side? Are you doing mostly online SEO, referral? Have you moved into more traditional spaces where you're trying to get shelf space? I just saw Casper in New York is trying to get some showcase room inside a traditional retailer. So what's been the trajectory and where do you feel you have to go? Obviously started out as somewhat of a virtual business and now kind of hitting stride. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a good question. The going from A to B is really difficult. And then I think going from B to C is very difficult. And I feel like we're at that point now. And then going from C to, let's say M, where you're actually at scale, is a whole different set of challenges. So right now, we're, just to give you some numbers and some context, we're on about a $5 million a year run rate right now. And so I feel pretty good about that. 5, 6, so it's still pretty small. We're only in our 17th month of sales though. So pretty good about that upward trajectory. And then to go from $1 million in our first 12 months to then, hopefully 5 in our next 12, that type of scale is difficult. And then I've got my eye on how to go from 5 to 20. And so we're only in 2 channels right now, just our .com and Amazon. So our Amazon channel expansion has been really key for us. And having a really fantastic product and really fantastic customer service has also been key for us. We got 380 reviews on Amazon now, 4.6 stars, which I'm very, very proud of. 4.8 stars on our website with about 2,000 reviews now. And so really, I think about product quality, customer service, repeat customers, word of mouth, and SEO as our core acquisition channels. And then obviously we're doing Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, branded search on Google. But really the best keywords you're ever going to get, the best cost acquisition, the most profitable acquisition is always going to be on branded search and category search. And so right now our focus is really on building our brand name recognition, Sheets and Giggles, and then our category recognition of eucalyptus sheets, similar to the way that bamboo sheets was on a really big upshot a few years ago. We'd really like eucalyptus sheets to be the next bamboo with better staying power. And so that's kind of what we're focused on right now. And we naturally claim a lot of that conversion share when people are searching for eucalyptus sheets.
That's great. So let's talk for a second about influencer marketing and pros and cons of that. Have you taken a look at doing any of that? We've got some friends of ours and some companies that we've put some money into, and we feel like it's somewhat of a black hole from a metric standpoint. I just wanted to get your take on if we're crazy or if something in the numbers just doesn't show up in the numbers that we don't know about.
I think it's all about finding the next influencer platform, because I think that if you're talking about Instagram specifically, it's more than a black box. I think it's a complete waste of money. We've spent probably, I don't know, a 20 grand investment with influencers and have gotten almost, less than 1 ROI. And it's just not something that I feel like investing more time or energy into. The frustrating thing is I think, in 2015, 2016, I think, paying influencers to hawk your product was an interesting acquisition channel because it was new, it was different. People hadn't seen it before. Now people know that any, person with 30,000 followers will take $250 to hawk any coffee, any tea, any bed sheet, any pillow. And it's just not very effective. And the captions aren't genuine. The images can sometimes be good. I think that the UGC you get from it, the content can be interesting in terms of like photos that you wouldn't have taken yourself. But overall, I have a major dislike of influencer culture, and I haven't seen the return on it. And so maybe we're doing it improperly, or maybe our customers aren't the ones that are buying from influencers. But I tend to see all the comments on our influencer posts are from other influencers trying to get followers, commenting about how gorgeous somebody looks or how comfy the sheets look or like whatever it is, but it's not real consumer interest. So I don't like that stuff. I'm always looking to try to win in the margins and try to find the next channel or the next kind of opportunity. And I haven't found one yet that I'd be comfortable sharing aloud with a ton of other folks that I would say I can recommend with confidence. But there's always fun ways to figure out what your biggest wins are going to be and chase those. And influencers are not it for me.
Gotcha. All right, we could probably end the podcast now on that, but we'll keep going. Thank you for validating.
I do like YouTube influencers. There's one guy named Ryan George who I absolutely adore that we've sponsored like 3 of his videos, positive ROI, good ROI. And it's because he's a funny guy. He's super on brand. And he basically does a whole video sketch for us every time at the end of every one of his videos. He's hilarious. Look him up if you haven't seen him, Ryan George. And we've gotten really good traction from that, really good brand recognition. So I think we're going to try to scale some of our YouTube spend this year, but not in terms of like advertising on YouTube, but rather sponsoring creators that we just think are funny. And then that we think will do a good job of representing the brand voice.
That sounds great. So when you look at our sector and health clubs and fitness studios and the personal training community, where do you see this product line fitting in as part of the narrative? Is it better sleep? Is there a workout recovery scientific angle to it? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, very much so. We have some interesting messaging that we're working with around like the performance aspect of the sheets. It's something that I think has always been an interesting marriage with the funny brand voice. Like we're already doing funny, premium, and sustainable in the brand voice, which is a very difficult balance to strike. And so I want to make sure that we're always being very genuine and transparent with people in terms of what we feel the value prop is for our sheets. So I think that what we're going to try to do is get a few athletes to use the product and give us their honest appraisal of whether or not it improves their nightly sleep cycle. If they're waking up less, if they're sweating less, if they're waking up in a pool of sweat less, if there's less abrasion, if they're falling asleep faster. All these things are going to be very important, I think, for your daily performance and how well rested you feel. Me personally, I'm totally knocked out every night for 8 hours at this point, which is great. But I don't want to be making claims that we don't really have any evidence for in terms of like that athletic performance. Though I will say they literally have a lower surface friction than cotton. They're more breathable than cotton. They're more moisture wicking than cotton. Eucalyptus sheets are going to be incredibly non-abrasive, great for sensitive skin. We have, I think the angle actually that we're very excited about is we have tons of reviewers come to us and tell us, I have multiple sclerosis, I have eczema, I have contact dermatitis. ALS is another one that we've gotten some reviews on. And so basically we're really excited and really interested in the fact that there are a lot of people with specific ailments that are using our sheets and are able to sleep through the night in a way that they've never been able to in the past because of how smooth they are and how breathable they are. And that has been really exciting to me and also really just not something I anticipated, I think. And so it's been very heartwarming as well. And so I'm really excited to advertise that more for people that are looking for solutions for how they can sleep through the night with this type of chronic pain illness.
That sounds great. So I can take my weighted blanket and put some eucalyptus bedding underneath me, and I should be able to sleep.
We actually have a weighted blanket and a comforter that we're coming out with imminently. So,
all right, kickstart me on that.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what are some of the in closing here? You got any good quotes that that your team would say? Colin says that all the time, or some of the things as an entrepreneur as you've gone through your first phase of your career here.
Yeah, the first phase of my career. It's crazy to think that I'm coming up on a decade out of university. Shout out to one of my best friends, a guy named Will. Not best friends, I shouldn't say. One of my good friends from college. He just sold his company, and so Emory's getting some cool entrepreneurs coming out of it. Have you heard of Plaid by any chance to Vista?
Plaid?
Yeah. I just got sold to Vista for like $5 billion.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. So, it's like a square.
Yeah. So Will he's a 2012 Emory grad as well. So he and I were buddies in college.
Oh, he started that company?
Yeah. So I just thought it was cool, just in terms of thinking about the first 10 years of my career, the difference between his and mine. But I'm still, but at the same time, I'm still very happy with how it's gone. It's been a pretty crazy ride. I think the thing with me that I think is has always stuck with me from my Bridgewater days is, and my team hears me say this all the time, is like goal task confusion and goal task orientation. And so I think a lot of people get very strung up on tasks instead of goals. And so, we change course all the time. We'll go in one direction for a little while, and then I'll realize, actually, this isn't the most efficient way to do it. This isn't the most profitable way to do it. This isn't the most scalable way to do it. We're going to go ahead and pivot and move into this different direction. And my team never, ever, ever has a peep about, oh, what about all the work that we've done? What about all the different things we do? There's no sunk cost fallacy on the team. We basically say, yes, this is a better way to achieve our goals. Our goals are a successful, rapidly growing business, period, end of story. There's a million ways to achieve that. So let's not get hung up on any one of them. And I think that a lot of times people and their teams, especially like people that are, working at a company that's not theirs, they get really hung up on their tasks because it's what provides them the sense of value and like that they're moving the needle instead of the company goals. So that's one thing, is just goal task confusion. And another thing is my team, and that everybody in Denver hears me say this ad nauseum. You've got to do a business model before you build a product. I know so many people that have just built very expensive products, invested their life savings, hired attorneys for patents, gone through years and years of patent law. And that $50,000 they spent on that could have gotten them their first 5,000 customers if they had spent it appropriately. Right. And so I think that type of order of operations is really important. And the last thing I'll say is I firmly believe, there's a lot of talk and a lot of idolization of both hustle culture and, on the flip side, like companies that let you work 4 days a week and like 32-hour weeks and stuff like that. I think that, like, not to get too prescriptive, but if you're the type of person that can sleep for 4 hours a night for a long period of time, like for a year, and work 18-hour days every day, 7 days a week, and just kill yourself, like, you will get more done in a year than your competitors will get done in 2. And I think that that's something that I really truly believe, and it's not for everyone, and it's not something that I want to do again. But that was the way I spent my first year in business, to go from 0 to 1.
Yeah, good. I don't think you need to have any constraints on what you want to do, especially when your profession also turns into your hobby, which we can tell from listening to you. It's somehow intertwined into the eucalyptus thread of who you are.
Yeah, so I know a lot more. I didn't realize that going into my 30s, I would know this much about bedding and sheets, but I'm a bit of a home textile freak at this point.
That's great. Well, I think people have, say that you need to have a hobby. And I feel like in this age of being able to start up companies and the amount of innovation, and if that innovation is something that allows you to get your release and your creativity at the same time, then you don't have to say that you're doing something else, because it's already a part of what you're doing as your day job, which is nice versus, I think the old days of, if you work at a desk and you work in Excel, you need to have a release because there's nothing creative about what you are doing. Whereas here you have that luxury in a good way.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love what I do. I started this company to have freedom was my number one goal, and
freedom,
catching a tiger by the tail is fun. And now you got to figure out what to do with it. And, I did not think that within 2 years of sitting down at my desk and getting started on the company, we'd be doing, almost, I think in the holidays, November, December, we were doing almost $500,000 a month in business. And it's just hard to believe sometimes. So I feel really happy, feel really blessed, but it's also been a lot of hard work. But now I can work from home. I can be with my dog. I can go see my family. I got a little 3-year-old nephew in Florida that I love to go see, and so that's also really important to me. So I feel really happy right now, and just trying to make sure I don't take it for granted.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll continue to check in with you. I will be a purchaser of the weighted blanket with matching sheets, and let's be in touch on helping you get more of your product throughout our Halo sector for people sleeping better, and keep hustling. Good work.
Sounds good. No, I appreciate it, Pete. Thanks for having me. And if anybody in the audience ever needs anything, I'm pretty easy to find. I'm just Colin at Sheets and Giggles or Colin at sheetsgiggles.com. No and in the URL. And you'll find me. We're pretty easy if you search for Sheets and Giggles.
All right. I'll see you at the tavern at Emory in Emory Village.
That'd be fun, man. I'd love that.
All right. Take care, man. Good work.
Thanks, Pete.
See you.